Imagine a country on the edge of chaos. Not immediate chaos, but the shadow of an imminent disaster that hangs over everyday life. In the United States, millions of people are not just watching the news, they are acting. They are stocking food and preparing for crises that may be coming, turning garages into supply and basement arsenals into fortresses. But why this urgency? What motivates them to isolate themselves from society and to focus on preparing for the worst? Does faith play a role in this preparation? And the prophecies of the apocalypse? Are we really living the signs of the end times? Get ready for a journey that goes far beyond the headlines. It is an exploitation of the surprising and complex connection between faith, science, and the obsession with survival in a nation waiting for what can be the great and if. Oh no, the apocalypse, a word that evokes images of catastrophe, prophecies, and the end of the world. The book of Revelation is one of the most enigmatic and fascinating texts of the Bible, full of symbolisms that have been interpreted and reinterpreted by millennia. Today, this search for meaning echoes in one of the most unique subcultures in modern America. Millions of Americans in all states adhere to a movement that, although it seems extreme, is deeply rooted in their concerns about the future. They are the preppers, a community that prepares for the unexpected. And why does that matter? Because what they predict and for what they are preparing, in many cases, aligns directly with the darkest prophecies of Revelation. In this documentary, we will unravel the fascinating connection between these two worlds. We will start by plunging into chapter 6 of the Apocalypse, where the opening of the 7 seals brings the feared 4 nights. Then we will compare these prophecies with what science and society are living today, from global pandemics to economic crises. Let's find out how the view of an apostle, written almost 2,000 years ago, may seem a frighteningly accurate reflection of our times. And finally, let's understand the mentality of the preppers, what they do, what they stock up, and why this preparation goes far beyond a simple hobby. This is the story of how faith, science, and survival intersect, inviting you to ask the most important question of all: are you prepared for what the future can bring? Revelation's book begins with a frightening vision, the knight on a white horse. He's the embodiment of conquest, plague, irresistible advancement. For millennia, this figure was interpreted as a war symbol, but COVID-19's global pandemic gave us a new and disturbing perspective. Suddenly, the vision of an invisible, who spread silently and conquering the world without an army, seemed frighteningly real. Science explains us how globalization, population growth, and rapid circulation of people and goods create the perfect environment for viruses to emerge and multiply. In laboratories around the world, scientists work to decipher the genetic code of these microscopic invaders in a race against a war, but without obvious violence. For the preppers, the pandemic was a validation event. The empty supermarket shelves, widespread panic, and the lack of basic supplies were not a surprise to them. It was a scenario they had simulated in their minds for years. They were mostly ready for the crisis. For the public, however, it was a reminder of how fragile modern society is and how unthinkable it can become the reality overnight. This white knight is not just an old prophecy, but an echo of the fears and realities of our time. The second knight, mounted on a red horse as fire, is an unmistakable symbol of war and violence. He has the power to take peace from the earth. And when we look at the headlines, the conflicts that spread around the world, the image of a burning world seems a frightening reflection of this prophecy. The world is more connected than ever, but also more polarized. Conflicts in distant regions may have a domino effect, causing economic instability, refugee caesures, and ultimately the risk of a global war. Military science, with its autonomous weapons and advanced technology, always seems to be a step ahead of diplomacy, making the view of an even more terrifying global conflict. The fear of a third world war, which haunted the world during the Cold War, is back. For the preppers, global conflicts are the main scenario for which they prepare. They study survival tactics in war scenarios, stock up weapons and ammunition, and create escape plans for their families. The Vermelonite's view is not just a prophecy, but an echo of the fears and realities of our time. The third knight, mounted on a black horse, speaks of hunger and economic crisis. He carries a scale in his hand and screamed at a measure of wheat by a duranda, an amount of money that would be a whole day's salary. This prophecy aligns in a disturbing way with today's reality. Today we live in a world of high inflation, difficulties in access to food, and economic uncertainty. The 2008 global crisis reminded us of the fragility of our financial system. The pandemic, with its interruptions in the supply chain, showed us how the food, which was once abundant and cheap, can become a luxury. For the preppers, the economic crisis is the most immediate threat. They believe that economic collapse can be the fuse for all other crisis scenarios. They prepare themselves by stocking food, gold, and silver coins, and learning to cultivate their own foods. The scale in the hands of the Black Knight is a reminder that hunger and economic crisis are not just prophecies, but realities that can affect us at any time. The fourth and last knight, mounted on a paced yellow horse, represents death by natural disasters and disease. Science warns us of climate change, increased global temperature, and the frequency of extreme weather events. Stronger hurricanes, more intense forest fires, and devastating floods have become an annual reality. The vision of the paced yellow knight is the embodiment of the fears that modern society faces. The fear that nature, which has always served us, turns against us. The fear that health systems are not enough to deal with new pandemics. The fear that the social order will be shaken by disasters that we cannot control. For preppers, natural disasters are the final test. They prepare themselves, building shelters, stating water, and learning survival techniques in disaster scenarios. They believe that in a world of uncertainty, the only certainty is that you need to be prepared. The prepper or survivalist movement is the practical response of many Americans to the fears we discussed. They are not just reading about the apocalypse, they are acting on him. The motivations of each prepper vary, but the goal is the same: self-sufficiency. Let's get to know some of the most iconic preppers in the country. They turn their homes into fortresses with underground bunkers, water purification systems, and food stocks for years. Humor is often a way of dealing with the seriousness of the situation. A prepper, with a smile on your face, can show you how to ferment food and how to use solar energy to cook. Prepper movement is a reflection of the American history of individualism and self-confidence. In a world of uncertainty, they seek control, safety, and peace of mind to know that they are ready for what the future can bring. Do these preparations make sense? Would we really be living the signs prophesied in Revelation? Science confirms that the world faces real crises, and faith reminds us that there is a greater purpose. How is your preparation, physical and spiritual? Final verse: I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, says the Lord, the one who is, who was, and who will come, the Almighty. Revelation 18. If this message moved you, share, comment, and follow our channel for more content that unites faith, science, and hope.